I watched the breakup between Elon Musk and Trump happen over those few days, and I had been asked in January how I thought it was going to go. And in a way, like if you were remembering at that time, it sort of felt like this was an unstoppable duo.
Mm-hmm,
but I did
sure.
have a feeling, and I'm not the only one to have said this. Many people did, because it's kind of obvious that this was going to end in tears at some point. And there was the breakup. So I said by June, and it was June 5th. So I felt like I sort of nailed it. There was a few reasons for my thinking that way. One was that his time as a special government employee was going to have to come to an end. Mm-hmm. And that ended. But it does seem like there was even more behind the scenes. So give us your take on Elon Musk, Trump, the breakup, what it means, where they go from here.
Yeah, our mutual friend Josh Holmes tweeted that this was the least surprising thing to have happened in politics that he'd ever seen. Mm-hmm. And you're exactly right. I mean, at some point, Elon Musk was going to run out of road just simply in terms of his presidential appointment. It also seemed to me, that the president was ambivalent, not opposed, but ambivalent about Musk's very, very high profile. He also was concerned, I think, about the fact that some of these cuts that the Doge was implementing were not going to be popular. And the president has a keen eye for what's popular and what's unpopular. But at the end of the day, it sounds like part of it was just the result of internecine fighting inside the White House, which is unfortunate at the end of the day. But there are a couple of things that I think are interesting here. One is that, there's a cynical take on the golden rule, which is that he who has the gold makes the rules. And if that's the case, then Elon Musk should be making all the rules because he's got somewhere between 381 and 425 billion in assets. I would take just the difference between those two numbers. That's all I need. But and he spent about $300 million in the last election, about 2/3 of which went to help elect President Trump. But in Washington, we both know this after being around for a long time, it's not he who has the gold who makes the rules, it's who has the votes who makes the rules. And in this setting, Donald Trump unequivocally has the votes. First of all, he has the votes because he won the election. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk may have helped him, but it was Donald Trump who garnered 77.3 million votes. Elon Musk got 0 votes in that election. He's popular with Republicans, mm-hmm. but the other dimension to Trump's strength is that he also has a vise-like grip on Republican voters to an extent that I've never seen with any president in my lifetime. Not even Ronald Reagan commanded that degree of intense loyalty. And Musk is popular, but he is not the person who Republican voters turn to and see as the future. And if you're a Republican member of the House or Senate, you're going to be thinking a lot more about Trump's impact in an upcoming primary or an upcoming election than you're going to be thinking about Elon Musk at the end of the day. And I think that is one of the things that's significant. The other thing that to me is interesting is that, if I look back 8 years ago, it would be just as likely for, newly elected President Trump to call the reconciliation bill a disgusting abomination back then 8 years ago, even if that bill was being written to his specifications. He's become much more sophisticated about what you can expect from Congress, about how politics is the art of the possible. It's not the art of the fantasy deal. And, he's carved a course that I think is realistic, mm-hmm. trying to get what he wants in the long term. And Musk, who's quite new to politics and new to Washington, just couldn't get it. And it's interesting to see how that plays out.
I forgive me, whoever it is that wrote this piece. I believe it was in the Wall Street Journal, but it was talking about the difference between somebody who is certainly the richest man in the world, an amazing engineer, a CEO, and somebody who has total control over all of his directives. Right? He can say, do this. And the Tesla workers say, okay, yes, sir. SpaceX, do this. Okay, we're doing that. And that he doesn't have to deal with Congress and the Constitution, and that they're just fundamentally different. And maybe that was also another reason that Elon Musk and Trump were never going to be able to keep this going. Yeah.
Well, and you think about it, Trump was also that kind of CEO. And 8 years ago, he started out trying to govern more in that way. And now with a lot of seasoning, having mm-hmm. learned a lot, he's governing more like a president, like a politician who understands, you're not going to get a pristine, fiscally responsible bill out of Congress any more than you're going to get a string quartet out of a bunch of chimpanzees. It's just, mm-hmm. they're just not going to be able to produce that. And so you work with what you have, you manage the process, you cut deals. And Trump's really become quite good at that in a way that, Elon Musk is just barely learning the ropes on.
And practically speaking, when it comes to money in politics and fundraising, Musk threatened to support Democrats. Trump said that there will be consequences if you do. Musk also said he's never going to give to another candidate again, and I could imagine that might be a really good rule for somebody. But he's also involved in a lot of different types of businesses. He's regulated by a lot. He has thoughts about who should be governing the country. Practically speaking, financially, does Musk's money matter in the 2026 midterm or the 2028 general election?
I think the one way it could matter is that if he were to get involved in primaries in 2026, where he was putting his support behind a candidate who might then lose that general election. There's a possibility that he could do something like that. But in the grand scheme of things, Elon Musk spent $300 million on the 2024 elections. Donald Trump's name has raised billions of dollars in low dollar fundraising. The impact of his name in low dollar fundraising is vastly greater than Elon Musk's. In fact, it's interesting. Many of us get far too many texts on our phones than we'd like. And I get a lot of fundraising texts, and some of them reference Elon Musk. They're not connected to him at all. Someone's, basically trading on his name. But the number one powerhouse name in fundraising is Donald Trump. And he has the ability to swamp in direct campaign contributions whatever Elon Musk might spend.
Can we talk about the Democrats for a second? Barack Obama's doctor, Dr. Coleman, has come out and said that he believes Biden's doctor missed the diagnosis of cognitive decline. That seems kind of hard for me to believe. I know Dr. O'Connor, thought he was a great doctor when he was a part of the physician's unit at the White House when I was there. He wasn't the head doctor, but I know him. I have good thoughts about him. I always appreciated his care for me. But this is very interesting about now you have like Obama's doctor saying, okay, they missed this. So it seems to me that that's not to say that the doctor himself is a very political person, but it did seem to me like a political escalation in a way of internal Democratic fighting about what happened on the Biden cognitive decline and how disruptive that is for the Democratic Party, but also how dangerous it was for the United States of America. And we haven't had a chance to get your thoughts on this story overall. Would love to get your thoughts here.
Yeah, it's, to me, and even when it was happening in real time, back before anyone would admit on the Democratic side that Biden had a cognitive decline problem, it just struck me as one of the most stark cover-ups I've seen in American politics, and not so much of a cover-up of corruption, but of mental incompetence on a 25th Amendment level. And I just thought once this someday breaks apart, like most conspiracies, like most cover-ups, when it starts to fall apart, people start going after each other in pretty brutal ways, much like they did in the wake of the revelations about Watergate. And I think that's what we're seeing now, is that a lot of people were in on what was basically kind of a quiet conspiracy to gaslight people on where Biden was mentally.
And you know what kind of makes me crazy, because you know a lot about fundraising for political campaigns. They were actively asking for people's hard-earned dollars to help Biden win another term because he was going to be president for another 4 years, and they knew that wasn't even possible.
Right.
That kind of makes me sick.
Yeah. And so we're exactly right. People feel lied to. They feel deceived. There are people on the outside who took at face value the claims that were made by the White House, including the former press secretary there, that everything was okay. He's fine. He's got good days and good days. And nobody really believed it. So I think you've got a lot of people just on the Democratic side, forget about Republicans or anybody else, or the media, who just feel lied to and cheated, to your point. And that just goes down hard. And I think they've got a lot of time to have to work through that. Yeah.
I just don't see how they get out of it until they figure out some sort of a way to pivot. And I don't think the Los Angeles riots on immigration are the way to do that. That's not the pivot. What could be a pivot is something you and I have sort of talked about as we are friends, and I've mentioned on the 5 several times, and that is the state of education in America. And I'm talking K through 12. Mm-hmm. And it's been a dismal failure. And there was an article this weekend in Reason magazine about the issue of chronic absenteeism, which means that you miss 10% of class or more, and how this has really affected poor communities and poor students more than anybody else. And I feel like this is something, if a smart Democrat was willing to authentically and believed in his or her heart to take on the issue of education and K through 12 in America, that might be a pivot point for them. But even if it's not for them politically, what do you think about the K through 12 problems we're facing now?
Well, first of all, I just want to commend you for championing this issue. It's striking to me that this is a devastating quiet crisis on so many levels. One dimension of it, as you notice, is the degree to which government-run schools are horribly failing lower income, disadvantaged inner city children. I mean, they don't have a chance of getting into the game if they attend a school that's government run and they have no way out of it. But in addition to that, and I remember you said something about this on the 5, you look at the failure to generate positive education outcomes and things like science and math and reading and all these things. And let's project 5 to 10 years down the road. How do you take any of our students and put them up against students in China, students in Japan, students in Europe, where they still require educational attainment? And I had thought that the revelation of how screwed up our schools were that happened during COVID would be kind of a triggering moment. But it's not yet. But I agree with you. I mean, it's out there for somebody to really start to talk about. And
do you think Republicans are talking about it enough or focus enough on it?
I don't. I mean, I think that the basic program for Republicans in education is to dismantle the Department of Education. And I'm not against that. I mean, the Department of Education has been a failure. There are a few aspects to it where they do some very helpful level setting in terms of keeping records, but that can be done by somebody else. So but other than that, I don't hear Republicans talking forcefully about good solutions. Now, I will say, if you go out to the states, there's a big focus, as you know, on school choice, charter schools. There's some real innovation going on there.
And I love all of that, but it doesn't feel like it's enough.
It's not. I mean, you look, for example, at Success Academy and the great work that Eva Moskowitz is doing in New York. I mean, she is touching hundreds of thousands of students. But at some point, that's got to scale up to tens of millions of students. I mean, otherwise you're still just only touching the surface of it. So at some point, there's got to be a solution that really gets at the vast majority of people who probably aren't going to end up in a charter school or probably aren't going to have, the access to private schools and other solutions like that. There's going to have to be a holistic solution that somebody figures out. I don't know if Democrats can do it because it's hard for them to buck the power of the teachers unions. Cory Booker, once a strong advocate for charter schools, even after his Spartacus moment, kind of wimped out on that particular issue.
Yeah, it's a shame, but it's on my mind for sure. And I just feel like it could be one of those issues where if whoever it might be decides to be the champion of it, like I could even see like a Sarah Huckabee Sanders in the future running for president as this part of her platform. She's done great things in Arkansas. And she has a real focus on it. So anyway, it's on my mind, as you can tell.